Okay. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to League of Women Voters of Santa Barbara's February Community Forum on how you can help make democracy work. I'm Vijaya Jamal Madaka, president of our local league, and we are recording this webinar for you so that you can see it later on our YouTube. Before we start, I would like to respectfully acknowledge that the land that we're on belongs to the Chumash people of Santa Barbara. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place their home. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. So our league, this February 14th, Valentine's Day, was our 101st birthday of the league. And it was also our Santa Barbara League's 83rd birthday. Our mission is empowering voters and defending democracy. We work to see a democracy where every person in our community has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. We are political and nonpartisan. We don't support or oppose candidates running for office or any political party. Geographically, we cover the southern part of Santa Barbara County along the coast from Gaviota to the Ventura County line. The northern part of Santa Barbara County is mostly covered by our sister league in Santa Maria Valley. Today's forum will introduce you to some of our league's leaders and the work that we do to make democracy work. So here's the agenda on the screen. So you will hear from all of us. And then, so the league, we'll have questions after each speaker. The League of Women Voters has trademarked the phrase, making democracy work. It encompasses our work at the national, state, and local levels on voting rights, improving elections, campaign finance, money in politics, and redistricting. We also continue to work on urgent issues. And this year, our league has, the issues we have chosen for emphasis are climate emergency, climate justice, criminal justice reform, and housing. And the league as an organization is fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in principle and practice. We take that seriously. Before introducing our first speaker, I want to call your attention to the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Please put your questions there. Board member and coordinator for this forum, Gail Osherenko, will be monitoring your questions. Today, our program will begin with our keynote speaker, Helen Hutchison, who will enlighten us on one of the most important aspects of making democracy work, redistricting. Especially this year, it's very important. Helen is the past president of League of Women Voters of California. Please welcome Helen Hutchison.
I need to unmute myself. It's telling me. I'm sorry. So thanks so much, and I'm happy to be here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to talk about redistricting and why it's important. So let's start off just by talking about what is redistricting to begin with. We have political districts. They're sometimes called electoral districts, are one way we divide up a city, a county, or another government. And they're drawn so they have equal population, so that each member of a governing body represents the same number of people. Because over time, population tends to shift from one area to another, we need to redraw those district lines every 10 years after each census. So why does this matter? It seems like it should be relatively straightforward and simple. So let's take a little bit closer look. Redrawing the boundaries of political districts or redistricting can affect the balance of power in Congress and in the state legislature and in any other political body. It can affect the power between political parties, geographic regions, ethnic groups, and special interests. Here's some very simple examples of this. In this example, the district with a green boundary is 2/3 Whig and only 1/3 Tory. That would be considered a safe Whig district, meaning there's not much competition and very unlikely that a Tory could win. But if we change how that district is drawn to be more equal, the district becomes half Whig and half Tory, making the orange district to be a toss-up. Elections could be more of a contest. And I'm going to point out that competition is not one of the criteria that we use in California for drawing districts, but because when you draw things more fairly, sometimes competition, it falls out and becomes fairer. And finally, remember that the impact of redistricting, redrawing these political boundaries lasts for 10 years. Because of this, the effect of redistricting is really profound, more than any single election or other event. So why does it matter who draws the lines and what the rules are? One very important reason is that elected officials can have different goals for drawing political districts than a commission of community members who do this. Elected officials are interested in getting reelected or seeing someone elected they prefer. It's really not, I don't mean to criticize elected officials, but this is human nature. And sometimes elected officials will draw district maps that focus on what they want over other issues. Sometimes that can mean that maps they draw may not take into account the interests of cities or communities who have not been represented more equally. There are multiple levels of redistricting going on in California. I'm going to start by talking about the state level. 10 years ago, we changed redistricting and we moved the job of redrawing the 4 sets of state maps from the state legislature to an independent commission that's made up of 14 California voters. The first redistricting commission 10 years ago was successful in drawing all 4 sets of maps. The results were district maps that better represented a wider range of California communities. They weren't perfect, but a lot better than when the legislature was in charge. The 2020 commission, the second one for California, has been chosen and has begun its work. There's 3 inputs to a redistricting process. There's the legal requirements, those are already in place. There's the census data, and we know that's coming, and that's we can talk about that in the Q&A. And then there's public input, and that's us, the public. For this upcoming redistricting cycle, the census data is not going to come until the end of September. That means there's going to be a compressed time in which all new maps need to be drawn throughout the state. And at all levels, that public input process can start before the census data is available. And that means we need to start by asking people about their communities of interest. This is the official term. You can talk about their neighborhood. It's a friendlier way of saying that. The State Commission, as well as cities and counties, use a ranked list of criteria when they draw their maps. Ranked criteria means that important measures or rules when drawing the district lines. For California, that means having equal population, following the Federal Voting Rights Act, being contiguous, that means connected, respecting a city and county boundary lines, and preserving communities of interest. And this line where we're respecting cities, counties, and communities of interest becomes the key point of redistricting decision-making. Once they've applied all those measures, they also need to try to make each district as compact as possible. So it's really key to remember that our redistricting commissioners are going to be using their best judgment when they consider how communities of interest are respected and included in new district maps. So what is a community of interest? What do we mean by that? The California Constitution describes it as a community of interest is a contiguous population which shares common social and economic interests that should be included within a single district for purposes of its effective and fair representation. So it's a community of residents who live nearby each other and share interests or economic levels or social or cultural ties. And that could be a shared interest in schools, housing, community safety, transit, health conditions, land use, environmental conditions, and any other variety of issues. So how do we help people give their input? There's going to be a community of interest tool that is that the State Redistricting Commission is going to release soon. I think as league members and community members interested, we all need to learn how to use it, and we need to help others use it. It can be as simple as making paper map kits available to people, so they can draw their maps that include neighborhoods and say, this is my neighborhood. You can help people give written or oral testimony about a community and its boundaries. And it's really important when we're defining a community of interest, you need to describe boundaries, landmarks, streets, and it's also important to include a short description of what brings that community together. Is it a school attendance boundary? Is it we all share the same economic levels? We share some ethnic background. We all shop at the same store, whatever it is. And then there are going to be bonus points for adding what nearby neighborhood or groups are best to combine us with to make a bigger community, and which would be worse. So we're not done yet. There's a lot more redistricting going on that you may or may not be aware of. So every local government entity which has single member districts has to redraw those district lines every 10 years. Redistricting at the small or local level is also very important. In many ways, it's at the local level where people can have the greatest impact on government and influence policy that will affect their lives. So we need to pay attention to these redistricting processes too. And I know that you in Santa Barbara have been doing that. Local redistricting means drawing district maps for all of these different levels of government. These are just a few examples, and each of them may have different rules. Until recently, most of these maps were drawn by the elected officials, so they drew their own lines, and many still do. And they had few rules beyond the California Brown Act, the Sunshine Law, that requires local government business be conducted at open and public meetings. Some local governments have independent redistricting commissions, like you do in Santa Barbara, and some have appointed commissions with varying powers. Most local officials in the state, however, are still drawing their own maps. There are many different ways that cities and counties handle their redistricting. There's independent commissions, advisory commissions, no commission. And it may be that it doesn't need to redistrict because it does not have districts. If it's not broken up into districts, this doesn't apply. There are two new laws that standardize the redistricting rules for cities and counties. And the rules are very similar to those that are used for the state commission. Education districts have very few requirements other than the Brown Act when it comes to redistricting. And they need to have equal population and comply with the Voting Rights Act. But that means it's up to the public, which means us, to hold their feet to the fire to do the fair thing. And we have a toolkit that is a great place to start on that. Special districts, that mean the same rules or lack thereof apply to school and community college boards apply to special districts. And depending upon where you live in California, these special districts can be more or less important. So what is the League doing? Our goals for the 2021 redistricting: we want a transparent process at every level. We want full public participation at every level, and we want to emphasis on communities or groups who have not been heard or represented well in the past. We want maps that are fair and reflect public input. Again, as much as possible, we want maps that keep communities together in districts, again, with a priority on those communities who have been underrepresented historically. And finally, we want every level to follow the best practices for community input and map drawing. The State League, the LWVC, that I'm representing, is focusing on this process and supporting local leagues to assist with local redistricting activities and outreach. We're not going to be commenting on or submitting maps, but local leagues may submit comments or maps for their areas to the State Commission if you're interested. all of us, the league at every level, is going to be working on public education and encouraging involvement and facilitating public input at every level of redistricting. There's a lot of redistricting going on, so it's going to be up to each league to help educate people in your community about all of them and how to make their voices heard. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and we'll go to Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you, Helen.
Yeah,
We have a couple of questions here.
sure.
The first one is, what is a Whig and what is a Tory?
We used Whigs and Tories just as parties from history to make people giggle. We weren't going to use political parties that are out there now. That was all.
And then we have a question, will the community of interest tool be accessible on people's iPhones and their iPads?
iPads probably, it will be accessible on your iPhone. It will be difficult to use. It is a tool in which you're drawing things. And so, yes, it is accessible. It will be, the easiest way to use it will be on something with a larger screen.
I'm sort of overwhelmed by all that, all that information and all that we're going to have to be working on in the league to be sure that people understand and have a fair opportunity to participate.
Right. Right. And it's all going to happen pretty much on top of each other because of the late release of the data. So we have more time to prepare, but we're going to have less time to actually do the input process.
So how is that likely to affect elections that we're looking forward to, local elections here in November? Are we going to have that data in time to have results?
This November? No, you will not have new districts for this November's elections. No. The earliest that new districts would go into effect would be for the primary in 2022. So that is the goal, is to have new districts in place for June of 2022.
That may be the answer to the question we just got in from Carol Keeter. What is the deadline for completing the redistricting?
So currently the deadline is December 15th, but given that we aren't going to get the census data until the end of September, there are some very active discussions going on in the state legislature about how we need to shift election calendars and deadlines to make sure that we can get new districts in place for a primary election in 2022. And just, you know, that's all I can tell you about it because we don't know what's going to happen.
That may be the answer to the question that popped in right afterwards, which was, do you expect the legislature to extend the deadlines for completing the local redistricting?
I expect the legislature to extend those deadlines and then also do some one-time maneuvering to the elections calendar. And what that involves, I don't know, but you know, the league is part of that. Through our lobbyists, will be part of those discussions, and we just are going to have to watch and wait and listen.
This is another question, a follow-up question. When a redistricting commission has recommendations, who needs to approve these and make them final? So
for the state commission, they are the final say, and and then for your Santa Barbara County Commission, they have the final say, don't they? I'm looking for some people who know. I don't know. Local commissions can be either have the power to the absolute power to draw the maps, or they can be considered advisory. And the one I know about is in Los Angeles City has an advisory commission. So the city council then would have the final say.
Revay or Lindsay, do you want to come in on this and say a little more?
In the county of Santa Barbara, it's our newly formed commission, and the city of Santa Barbara, it's the city council makes a decision.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Okay.
Wait. There's more questions here.
You know, because of the timetable and the short time, if we want to save some of the questions, I'm willing to stay on at the end for people who want to ask more questions. Would that be helpful?
Let me just pose this last
Okay.
one that I'm seeing here, and then we'll hold till after. Keeping communities of interest whole makes sense. You also said that having competitive districts is not a consideration. However, given extreme divisions in our country, wouldn't it make sense to try to have more districts that are really competitive so that we get more moderates and more people willing to compromise?
That is a debate among elections officials and elections experts, I will say, redistricting experts. And the league has come down on the fact, on the side of saying that it's more important that communities elect representatives that represent them and hear their voices and respond to their voices. That is the critical thing that we think needs to happen in elections. That when you try to artificially make a district more competitive, you tend to have to split up communities. And we don't think that that's a good thing to do.
Thank you, Helen. And
yeah.
I guess we will move on because we have a number of speakers, but they're each going to just take a few minutes. And as we go through the next several speakers, keep putting your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll get to those after all the speakers. And we'll, thank you, Helen, even come back to that. I'd like now to introduce our voter service director, Revay Moran, to share what brought her to work with our league and how you can help with redistricting, community forums, and all the other work of the voter service team.
Thank you, Gail. I moved to Santa Barbara 5 years ago after working for a large congressional agency in Washington, D.C. for almost 40 years, the Government Accountability Office, GAO. GAO provides oversight of all federal expenditures and reports directly to the Congress. The agency is strictly nonpartisan and known for issuing accurate, impartial reports. After moving here, I looked for opportunities to use my skills in new ways, and I wanted to learn more about local politics. After attending some community forums, I found that I was very inspired by the work of the League and its mission to help make democracy work. I joined the League and agreed to head the voter service team. Our work supports that mission by educating voters, fighting voter suppression, protecting representative democracy, and opposing gerrymandering based on partisan politics or race, and supporting fair and open elections. The need for this work was never clearer to me than last year during and after the election, and I've been so proud of the League and the strong positions it has taken in support of our shared democratic ideals. I'm now going to show some photos of our voter service work and everyone who's been involved in that. If I can get to the right screen. I'm sorry, I'm having a little difficulty. One more time, and then if I can't get there, I will just forget about the slides. Not that important. Okay. In 2019 and 2020, we attended many large events such as the Women's March and the annual Earth Day Festival at Alice Keck Park. Local celebrity John Palmentary from KEYT picked up some of our vote stickers at the Housing Authority's annual event at De La Guerra Plaza, where they provided information for people seeking low-income housing. This is one of the last in-person events we attended, however, because it became very clear that we were going to have to develop new ways to reach out to voters, which was especially important in preparing for the presidential election. We pulled together all of our voter service team and held a big brainstorming session last summer where we shared ideas on how we could reach voters remotely prior to the election. One great idea one of our team members had was to contact the food bank and ask them if they would put copies of the voter service guide that the league produces prior to each election. We wanted them to put it in their food boxes. The good news was that they said they would do it. The bad news was when I called and said, well, how many copies do you need? They said 4,000. So we quickly pulled together and ordered them. And we ended up distributing 2,000, giving them 2,000 copies in English and 2,000 in Spanish. They put them in their food boxes and got them out to low-income communities all over Santa Barbara, South Santa Barbara County. We also delivered over 3,000 guides to small markets and Latinx neighborhoods, residential care facilities in Santa Barbara, Carpinteria, and Goleta, and to homeless shelters and housing authority facilities. We attended a food fair at the Housing Authority's main office in downtown Santa Barbara and gave out many guides in Spanish at that event. Another one of the great things our voter service team does that's a lot of fun is holding candidate forums for those running for office in local and state election. I had a picture of the forum, it's on our website, so you can take a look at it, but that was in September of last year. We decided to have an in-person forum for the two candidates and the moderator so that we could have our Spanish interpreter attend also and provide simultaneous Spanish interpretations, and we were able to have TVSB come and record it in both English and Spanish so that we could both live stream it on our Facebook page, and then also record it in both languages and post it on our website for later viewing. And that's a lot of fun having those. 2019 is not going to be a big year for national elections, but there are 4 local elections in Santa Barbara, one for mayor, and several candidates have now stepped forward to run for office. So we're going to have a candidate forum for that event. So please help us with that one. It's going to be a lot of fun, even if we don't have a live audience there. We don't know yet, but we'll have it in September and we will live stream it and record it. There are also 3 city council elections, but we don't know yet whether anyone is going to run against some of those candidates, the incumbents who are very popular. So finally, we're making plans to have several local forums in which we will educate voters about the state and local redistricting efforts that Helen Hutchison discussed. The League plays an important role in educating voters about the redistricting process and obtaining public comments on the newly redrawn district maps. So please consider joining our voter service team and help make democracy work. Thank you. I now have the pleasure of introducing one of our newest League members, Daisy Beamon. Shortly after she joined our League, she signed up to work with Lindsay Baker and Susan Horn in interviewing our newly elected state representatives, as well as our newly re-elected federal congressman, Salud Carbajal. So take it away, Daisy.
Thank you, revay. My name is Daisy Beamon, and I've been a League member since late November. I'm a longtime resident of Santa Barbara and a volunteer for other social justice and charitable organizations. I'm excited to be a part of the League of Women's Voters Santa Barbara to not only contribute to fulfilling the League's mission in effective and meaningful ways, but also to continue my work in advocating and social justice. After completing a League of Women's Voters Santa Barbara online survey about confronting racism in Santa Barbara, I attended some Zoom meetings. Then I checked out the website. I liked the great work they were doing in human rights and other things with my interests in mind, like criminal justice, housing, climate justice, to name a few. I talked to a friend about the League's work in human rights, and I was gifted a membership. By the way, the friend became a member too. In January and this month, the California League of Women Voters conducted legislative interviews, which addresses local, state, and national issues. Our interviewers were from the 4 leagues in our region: Santa Barbara, Ventura, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo. The annual legislative interviews provide league advocates an opportunity to connect with the California newly elected and re-elected lawmakers. It is also opportunity for legislators to share their priorities with the local leagues and develop an understanding of league positions and priorities. In the 1-hour interviews were held with Senator Monique Limon, Assembly members Steve Bennett and Jackie Irwin, and U.S. Congress members Salud Carvajal and Julia Brownlee. The local league interviewers asked questions of statewide concern on climate change and land use, housing and homelessness, COVID economic recovery for the vulnerable, the legislature's priority, and a local question on racial justice and policing. Here, we asked our representatives their opinions to take decisive legislative action in response to ongoing fatal police killings and other violence against Black people across our country. The legislators shared their extensive knowledge and left us with stories of their successes and the difficult work involved that they do to try to improve their constituents' lives. A full report on the interviews have been sent to the California League on our league board and will soon be posted on our website. Please join us in our efforts to continue to help make democracy work. To hear more about local issues and decisions, I'll now introduce Lindsay Baker, Director of the Observer Corps. Thank you.
Immediately upon retiring from my day job, I joined the League of Women Voters Santa Barbara. Tuesday afternoon, I had to be sitting in the Santa Barbara City Council chambers watching the deliberations that could be having a direct effect on my life or the city I live in. During that same time, I had also wanted to be at the League's monthly community forums. That was before we video recorded and live streamed them. Soon I was doing both. I became a member of our Observer Corps. Sunshine laws ensure that the public has access to public records and that our government entities hold meetings available to the public and are transparent. Leagues have been advocates and protectors of these laws and rights. League observers are our watchdogs. We are there to hold our entities accountable. As you have heard from Helen Hutchison, the leagues act on 3 levels: national, state, and local. Each of these levels have policies that guide the issues we work on and advocate for. These issues are what observers look for on agendas of coming meetings of the electeds and special districts, as outlined again by Helen Hutchison. Observations can be done in person or by video. When you are unable to attend, most of the government meetings are recorded. Observers do not speak at these public meetings. They observe, take notes, and report their observations to me so that I can alert one of our several committees or board of directors to keep them informed, or for an alert to have needed advocacy. Since our job is one of watchdog, we want those being watched to know we are watching. Once I was the only member in the audience of a city council meeting, one of the council members addressed me saying how much he appreciated I was there. It works both ways. We get to know them and they know us. If you think you would be interested in being an observer, please contact me at observercorps@lwvsantabarbara.org. I will now introduce Pam Flint Tambo, Vice President of Administration and Co-Chair of our Social Policy Committee.
Good afternoon. Social policy issues run the gamut from birth to death, from healthy to ill, and from homelessness and houselessness to rental issues and workforce housing, and from education to revamping the criminal justice system. We have members interested in a variety of issues, but we try to focus on current problems and processes. Since I've been involved with the committee, we have reviewed in depth several of the topics social policy addresses, always reviewing the League's national and state positions before proposing changes or additions to our local positions. 2 years ago, we reviewed our position for homelessness. Last year, we looked at behavioral wellness, and this year we've been working with the Sustainable Communities Committee on housing. Our committee stresses access to housing, rental issues, workforce availability, and finding sufficient housing for our local population. Some of our members are involved with other organizations. They act as liaisons, keeping us informed about the work of those groups. One of our members, Susan Horn, has been a liaison for several years with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. In 2017, the League sponsored a forum on mental health issues, which ultimately led to the creation of the co-response teams within the County Sheriff's Department. Initially, there was just one team, but with sufficient funding, that has blossomed to funding for most of our county, so that when a call comes in for help with a person experiencing behavioral wellness issues, they can be met by a person trained to help them. And this is just one example of how we have worked in the community to make change happen through democracy, people working together. At our meetings, we share what we've been doing in the community, and other times we invite a guest speaker. Recently, a member of County Supervisor Greg Hart's office shared statistics of the incarcerated population here by race and ethnicity. Several of our committee members have been involved in a state League of Women Voters Committee for criminal justice reform. This committee rewrote our state position for criminal justice reform 2 years ago and are continuing to work on legislation and local issues throughout the state. With the push from the events this past year, Black Lives Matter, Showing Up for Racial Justice or SURGE, and Healing Justice, we're encouraged to address more local issues in the criminal justice realm. Last year, we collaborated with several local organizations for a forum on recidivism. This year, we've been gathering information, following progress with our local jurisdictions, raising questions, and making public comments, most recently at a Board of Supervisors meeting on criminal justice. If these activities appeal to you and you'd like to join us, let me know, and I'll add your name to our address list. Social Policy meets at 4:30 on the fourth Thursday of most months, currently via Zoom. So next, we'll hear from Vicki Allen, our Vice President of Communications.
Good afternoon. When I was a reporter for my college newspaper, the Daily Illini, I went to the march in Selma. There, I saw people risking their lives for the right to vote. In the years since, I worked as a reporter and editor, sometimes writing about voter suppression, as well as efforts to make it easier for people to vote. My lifelong commitment to voting rights led me to the League of Women Voters. I edit the newsletter and share League information on social media. If you are a member or friend of the League, look for the emailed monthly newsletter, The Channel Voter, in your inbox. There are 3 levels to LWV, local, state, and national, and I encourage you to become informed by visiting the websites of LWV for the US League, LWVC, California, and our own LWVSantaBarbara.org. Find out the latest news and action alerts. Here are some examples of calls to action. From the US League, it's time to restore the VRA, Voting Rights Act. Tell Congress to pass HR 1 for the People Act. Tell Congress to safeguard the 2020 election. From LWVC, tell Governor to make local elections more democratic. Fight for fair maps. Let's expand Election Day voter registration and tell your assemblyman to free the vote for Californians on parole. A few examples of messages to look for on social media. Justice Ginsburg's vision for America transcended race and gender and economic lines. She was a beloved champion of justice for all. And democracy defines America, and democracy has prevailed in the 2020 elections. On our local website, sign up for events or join a committee, become a member or donate. You can help get the word out by sharing posts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram with your networks. Go to your own account or sign up for one and find us at LWVSB. Click on the YouTube channel button on our website and watch candidate forums and videos of community forums on a wide variety of important topics. When you learn more about what the League is doing, I think you will see that because 2020 was a year like no other, members and volunteers worked harder than ever to make our mission of empowering voters defending democracy a reality. 2021 began with an armed insurrection, followed by a call for impeachment from LWVUS, then the impeachment vote and the beginning of a new administration. We are still in the midst of a global pandemic, but now, as life eventually returns to normal, we need your help to continue the hard job of making democracy work. Now I'll turn the forum back to Vijaya, our League president, who chairs the Sustainable Communities Committee.
Thank you, Vicki. I just need to do the spotlighting. Never mind. So let's talk about the Sustainable Communities Committee, which I now chair. It was founded and chaired for over 20 years by my mentor, Connie Hanna, and she affectionately dubbed it SUSCOM. So that's how we refer to it, SUSCOM. When she handed me the chair of SUSCOM after thorough vetting of my credentials, I was honored because she hadn't found any in 20 years, she told me. So SUSCOM meets monthly at 10 a.m. on the first Friday of every month. As we know, climate change is now an emergency, and it's related to every environmental issue. So, we look at everything through the lens of climate change, climate emergency, and we include our diversity, equity, inclusion policy also as a lens. So our committee members enjoy following issues such as onshore and offshore oil and gas impacts, community choice energy, housing, also related to climate change because of transportation emissions, land use planning, water, and many other issues. So we have guest speakers. We participate in local task forces and coalitions, such as the Cities County Joint Affordable Housing Task Group, the county's One Climate Initiative, the Santa Barbara County Action Network roundtables. We collaborate with like-minded organizations like SBCAN, the Santa Barbara County Action Network, and also with the Community Environmental Council, the Environmental Defense Center that I serve on the board, the Citizens Planning Association, and others. So we currently have a task force working on updating our local positions on housing. On March 17th at noon, we will hold a Zoom webinar forum on Santa Barbara South Coast Housing 2030. That's going to be a really interesting one. We have some very good speakers. And then on April 24th at 1 p.m., as part of the Community Environmental Council's Earth Day celebrations, we will hold a Zoom webinar on nature-based climate solutions. So this is about, we will focus on decarbonization by enhanced carbon uptake in soils while promoting equity and inclusion. This, the enhanced carbon uptake in soils actually is part of a, has been included in a legislation, SB 27 for recently. And so we will be following that. The League, California League has endorsed that piece of legislation. So when we get to the point, we will be sending out action alerts, as Vicki told you. So you are cordially invited to join us on SASCOM if you are interested in working on any environmental issue, environmental education, advocacy. So please email me. My contact email is on our website contacts page. So if you go to our website, we have a contacts page, and all of us are listed over there. And I believe the link is in the chat for our website.
It is.
Great. So please let us know if you have questions. I'll now turn it over to Gail Osherenko, our board member and chair of the Fund Development Committee, who has been watching out for any questions in our Q&A box for us. Thank you.
Thank you all for giving us a little quick overview of the many things that the League is involved in. We did have a couple of questions that one is from Nadia. Didn't the proposition pass that let people on parole vote? And Pam, do you want to,
I can talk about that. This is Helen.
good.
Okay.
And it did pass. And yes, they can vote. And we should, I hope that people in Santa Barbara are helping to register people and get the word out. The other piece that's going to happen is that is kind of related, is that in California, all redistricting will reallocate people who are currently in prison to their home communities. So they'll be counted where they came from and not where they're in prison, which is another piece of this it's called prison gerrymandering. And so we're undoing a piece of that.
Thank you, Helen. Maybe some of the panelists have other things they would like to address. Oh, I'm not sure. Somebody wanted to know, Butterfly, oh, I'm probably not pronouncing your name right, wanted to know the who is the speaker for voter services, and it's Revay, Moran. And I don't have other questions in here, so Revay, if you want to say more about how to contact you for voter service, you might want to do that.
Sure. You can either send an email to voterservice@lwvsb.org, or you can just call me directly. I will put that in the chat.
So if I may, thank you, Revay. I just wanted to say that please join us at the League as a member. When you do, you will get this booklet, which has our local positions. So as Vicki told you, we have 3 levels, and we have local positions, we have state level positions, and also national positions. And so if you don't see, if you're a member and you have this booklet and you don't see climate change as one of our positions in our local booklet, you will, we want you to know that our league uses national and state position climate change. So we don't need to re-adopt or adopt any new positions unless we have something specific to our local area. So, and then the League also has a climate change task force that has an active Google group where we discuss climate change actions and advocacy. So we encourage you to get involved, and yeah, so, oh, I see some questions.
Vijaya,
Yes.
We just want to also remind people that the Social Policy Committee meets on Thursday, February 25th at 4:30. And Pam Tambo has put her email address so that you can connect with her for the Zoom link.
Excellent. Excellent. So, okay, so any other questions that are?
I have a comment, and that's that I put the link to LWVC's redistricting information in the chat. So if people
Great.
want to, you know, follow up on what Helen has said, go to the website.
Good. Okay.
I see a question about the For the People Act and asking whether the State League supports it. The National League supports the For the People Act, was actually one of the groups that helped write the For the People Act. And so yes, because then it's a national act, the National League is who supports it. So therefore we all as league members support the For the People Act. And I think we've had a couple of action alerts about trying to highlight what that act will do and helping get it passed. And I expect more to come this year.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So thank you so much for attending. I hope you have a better idea of the kind of work we do now. And if you are attending our forums and you are not a league member, we urge you to join us as a member by visiting our website. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so your membership dues and donations are tax deductible. So now that you've learned, yes, Gail.
I realized I didn't quite have the right thing open. We do have a question about if we plan to have voter education forum for the city of Goleta. I think that question
Revay's question
goes to Revay.
Yes, yes, we will.
Short answer.
Yeah, any of the those efforts will have Canada forums, we'll have redistricting forums, everything that covers our local South Santa Barbara area.
And Joni Jones wants to remind us that there are various levels of the league have regular webinars. And as a member, you can go and sign up for the league updates at League of Women Voters US. So LWVUS, you can sign up for those. I attend I don't remember if it's monthly or bi-monthly, but the California League has a group that's working on criminal justice. There are a lot of issues. And so it's a regular meeting where people get together and report from their various areas what they're working on, but they also, if you want the messages, you get quite a few messages from the different members of that group about what's going on and what to pay attention to, and just keeping us all updated on what's happening. I don't know if any of the other panelists want to chime in and add something that we might have missed or rushed us all too much to be able to fit in.
I will. Gail was just mentioning the Criminal Justice State Committee. And if you let me know, I can put you in touch with Carolina Goodman, who chairs that committee out of LA. And another thing I wanted to mention, did we mention our DEI group that's starting to meet? And we definitely should mention that today. It's a new committee, initially pulled together by Joni Jones, and it's on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're just kind of getting started with how we want to study and look at the issues related to those issues with lots of work to be done and lots of information coming from our national league, as well as the work we're doing locally.
I want to mention also that we have a wonderful book club, and anyone who's interested in the book club can go to the calendar on our webpage or contact Elaine Rudin. And Elaine is also under the, she's in the contact list on the website. But they read very interesting books, and I've read some of them too. So
this is the one we're reading.
I think they're listed on the calendar too.
That's what I said. Yeah, go to the calendar. That's
yeah, it's great on our website.
Yeah, and you'll get the information there.
Great.
This month's book.
Yes, thank you, Vicki. Yeah, we do so much more. We thought we were pressed for time, but we didn't even include some things. We also, in addition to joining our committees, if you're a member, you have skills in technology support, commissions, or membership and partnership building, program assisting with our community forums. If you have skills in fund development, volunteer development, governance, please let us know. Join us. There's plenty, because we are all volunteer organization. Of course, it doesn't mean that we don't need money because we have administrative costs and office rent and all. So we would know that your donations are fully tax deductible because we're a 501c3. And if you have some skills that you can share with us, you do it as much as you want or as little you want. Do join us. So now that you've learned all about us, I will join our mission to empower voters, defend democracy, and make democracy work. Please stay safe. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all for coming.